The cashier gave her lunch to a customer without any money. 1 month later, he came back, and his proposition left her speechless. The monotone hum of the conveyor belts and the constant beeping of the scanners of barcodes filled the air of the supermarket. Happy savings. It was a Thursday afternoon, and the place was packed with customers doing their shopping after work. At checkout number 7, Marina sighed as she passed a carton of milk through the scanner, adding it to the growing list of items of the lady in front of her. Marina was 28 years old, with brown hair pulled back in a messy ponytail and dark circles under her eyes that revealed sleepless nights. She wore the supermarket's lime green uniform, a name tag pinned to her chest, and a forced smile she struggled to maintain despite her fatigue. "That's $47.50, please," Marina said to the lady, who took out her credit card and paid without any problems. Marina handed her the receipt and the bag with her purchases, mechanically repeating, "Thank you for your purchase. Have a good day," as the lady walked away. Marina looked at the clock on the wall. There were 3 hours left until her shift ended. 3 long hours of passing items through the scanner, charging, giving change, and repeating the same phrases over and over again. 3 more hours before she could go home to her small apartment, where her accounting books and her postponed dreams awaited her. Marina hadn't always wanted to be a cashier. In fact, she had never wanted to. When she was a child, she dreamed of being a veterinarian. She loved animals and spent hours playing with the neighborhood dogs. In high school, she discovered her talent for numbers and decided she would study accounting. However, life had other plans for her. Her father became seriously ill just as she was about to start college. Medical expenses piled up quickly, and Marina was forced to postpone her studies to work and help her family. What started as a temporary job at the supermarket became her daily reality for the past 6 years. Despite the circumstances, Marina had not given up. Every night after her shift, she studied accounting on her own. She dreamed of the day she could resume her formal studies and finally become the accountant she had always wanted to be. But for now, she was trapped at checkout number 7, counting the minutes until the end of her shift. "Next," Marina called, forcing a new smile as a middle-aged man approached with his cart. The man was wearing a wrinkled suit and had a worried expression on his face. He started putting his items on the belt: a package of pasta, a can of tomato sauce, a carton of eggs, and a loaf of bread. Marina noticed his hands were trembling slightly as he put down each item. "Good afternoon, sir," Marina greeted, starting to pass the products through the scanner. The man nodded silently, his gaze fixed on the screen that displayed the purchase total. Marina continued scanning the items, side-eyeing the customer. There was something about his expression that felt familiar, a mixture of shame and anxiety that she herself had experienced in difficult times. "That's $15.75, please," Marina announced when she finished scanning all the products. The man reached into his pocket and took out his wallet. He opened it and started counting the coins and wrinkled bills inside. Marina could see that his fingers were trembling even more as he counted again and again, as if hoping more money would magically appear. After what felt like an eternity, the man looked up, his eyes full of shame and despair. "I'm sorry," he murmured. "I'm $2 short." Marina felt her heart sink. She could see the pain in the man's eyes, the humiliation of not being able to pay for basic food items. At that moment, all of Marina's problems seemed to vanish. Here was someone going through a more difficult time than she was. Without thinking twice, Marina reached into her apron pocket and took out the $2 she was saving for her lunch. "Don't worry, sir," she said quietly, adding the money to the amount the man had managed to gather. "It's covered." The man looked at her in astonishment, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "I can't accept that," he whispered. "It's your money." Marina smiled, this time genuinely. "Please accept it. We all need help from time to time." With trembling hands, the man took the money and completed the payment. Marina handed him the bag with his groceries and the receipt. "Thank you," the man said, his voice cracking with emotion. "I don't know how to thank you." "No need," Marina replied. "I just hope things get better for you soon." The man nodded, took his bag, and slowly walked away. Marina watched him leave, feeling a mixture of emotions. On one hand, she felt good about helping someone who needed it. On the other, she knew she would have to spend her break without lunch. As the next customer approached the checkout, Marina couldn't help but think about her own situation. She had gone through hard times too, times when every penny counted. She remembered the nights when she and her mother counted coins to buy her father's medicine, or the times she had to choose between paying rent or buying food. In spite of everything, Marina had always tried to maintain hope. She firmly believed that if she continued to work hard and be kind to others, things would eventually get better. Her little act of kindness towards the man was a reflection of that belief. The next 2 hours passed in a blur of customers, products, and transactions. Marina continued working mechanically, her mind split between the task at hand and the thoughts about the man she had helped. She wondered what circumstances had brought him to that point. What story was behind those sad eyes and that wrinkled suit? Finally, her break time arrived. Marina went to the break room, her stomach growling in protest of the lack of food. She sat down on one of the plastic chairs, took out her accounting book, and tried to focus on the numbers in front of her. However, her mind kept going back to the man in her own situation. Marina thought about her postponed dreams, about the career she hadn't been able to start yet. She thought about her father, who was now better but still needed constant care. She thought about her mother, who worked tirelessly to keep the house afloat. And she thought about herself, trapped in this job she had never wanted, but that had become her lifeline. Despite everything, Marina didn't regret helping the man. While it meant going hungry during her shift, she knew she had done the right thing. In a world that often seemed cold and indifferent, little acts of kindness like this were what kept hope alive. As she flipped through her accounting book, Marina promised herself that she would not let the circumstances defeat her. She would continue studying, she would continue to work hard, and one day she would be able to fulfill her dreams. Maybe her small act of kindness would inspire others to do the same, creating a chain of kindness that could change the world one person at a time. The buzzer that marked the end of her break sounded too soon. Marina closed her book, put away her things, and headed back to her checkout. As she walked, she noticed her manager, Mr. Thompson, looking at her with a curious expression. "Marina," Mr. Thompson called her, "can I talk to you for a moment?" Marina's heart skipped a beat. Had he seen what she did? Was she in trouble for helping the customer? Nervously, she approached the manager's office. "Close the door, please," said Mr. Thompson when Marina entered. She obeyed, her mind racing with all the possible reasons why she might be in trouble. Mr. Thompson sat behind his desk and looked at Marina with a serious expression. "Marina, I've been observing you today," he began. Marina felt her mouth go dry. "Sir, if this is about what happened with the customer a while ago, Mr. Thompson raised a hand to stop her. "Yes, it's about that. I saw what you did for that man." Marina looked down, bracing for the worst. She'd be fired. She'd be suspended. How would she explain this to her family? "What you did," Mr. Thompson continued, "was an act of exceptional kindness." Marina looked up in surprise. Mr. Thompson was now smiling. "In all my years working in retail, I've rarely seen an employee show such compassion for a customer," he said. "That's exactly the kind of attitude we want on our team." Marina felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She wasn't in trouble after all. "However," added Mr. Thompson, "I can't allow my employees to go hungry during their shift." He took something from his desk and handed it to Marina. It was a $10 bill. "Take this so you can buy some food. And next time you want to help a customer, let me know. We'll find a way to do it without you having to sacrifice your own well-being." Marina took the money with trembling hands, overwhelmed by her boss's unexpected kindness. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson," she managed to say. "I don't know what to say." Mr. Thompson smiled. "You don't need to say anything. Just keep being yourself, Marina. This world needs more people like you." With a heart full of gratitude, Marina left the office and headed back to her checkout. The rest of her shift passed in a blur, but this time her smile was genuine as she served each customer. When her shift finally ended, Marina gathered her belongings and prepared to go home. As she walked towards the exit, she couldn't help but feel that something had changed. It wasn't just the $10 bill in her pocket or the knowledge that her boss appreciated her work. It was something deeper, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, things were starting to look up. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Marina took a deep breath, enjoying the fresh air after hours cooped up in the supermarket. As she walked to the bus stop, her thoughts returned to the man she had helped. She wondered where he was now, If he had managed to prepare a decent meal with the little food he had been able to buy, she hoped that, like her, he also felt that things could get better. Marina knew that her small act of kindness would not change the world. It wouldn't solve all the man's problems or magically change her own situation. But maybe, just maybe, it had planted a seed of hope. And maybe that seed would grow and multiply, inspiring others to perform their own acts of kindness. The bus arrived with a screech of brakes. Marina put her book away and got on, ready to face whatever came her way. She didn't know what the future held, but she was sure of one thing. She would continue to be kind. She would continue to help others whenever she could, because in a world that often seemed dark and cold, small acts of kindness were like stars shining in the night, guiding the way to a better tomorrow. As the bus pulled away from the supermarket, Marina looked out the window, watching as the city lights began to flicker on. Somewhere in those streets, she thought, there was a man who perhaps was telling a story about a kind cashier who had helped him when he needed it most. And maybe, just maybe, that story would inspire someone else to be a little kinder, a little more compassionate. Marina smiled to herself. She didn't know what the future held, but she was ready to face it one day at a time, one act of kindness at a time, because sometimes, she thought, it's in the smallest, most everyday moments that we find the strength to keep going and the inspiration to be better. The bus continued its journey through the city, taking Marina towards her home, towards her dreams, towards a future that, although uncertain, now seemed a little brighter. When Marina arrived at her small apartment, she found her mother, Elena, preparing dinner in the tiny kitchen. The aroma of sofrito filled the air, bringing back memories of her childhood and simpler times. "Hi, Mom," Marina greeted, dropping her bag on the worn sofa that dominated the living room. "How's Dad today?" Elena turned to her daughter, a weary smile on her face. "Better, honey. The doctor says if he keeps this up, he'll be able to go back to work soon, even if it's part-time." Marina felt a wave of relief. Her father's illness had been a constant struggle for the past few years, a battle that had tested the resources and resilience of the entire family. "That's great news, Mom," said Marina, going over to hug her mother. That's when she noticed the dark circles under Elena's eyes, the slight tremor in her hands as she stirred the pot. "Why don't you sit down for a while? I'll finish making dinner." Elena weakly protested, but finally gave in, grateful for the break. Marina took her place in front of the stove, stirring the stew that was bubbling gently. As she cooked, she told her mother about her day at the supermarket, about the man she had helped and the conversation with her boss. "I'm proud of you, Marina," Elena said, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Your father and I always knew you had a heart of gold. I'm sorry you had to put your dreams on hold for us." Marina stopped stirring for a moment, turning to look at her mother. "Mom, don't say that. You are my family. I would do anything for you. Besides," she added with a smile, "my dreams aren't dead, just on pause." Elena stood up and hugged her daughter. "And you will achieve them, my girl. I know you will." After dinner, Marina sat down at the small desk in the corner of her room, surrounded by accounting books and scholarship application forms. Despite the fatigue she felt after a long day of work, she immersed herself in her studies with renewed vigor. As she reviewed accounting and finance concepts, Marina couldn't help but think about the man from the supermarket. She wondered if he, too, would be sitting somewhere, fighting for his own dreams, trying to overcome difficult times. She hoped that her small act of kindness had given him the strength to keep going, just like her boss's kindness had given her a renewed drive. The hours flew by, and before she knew it, the clock struck midnight. Marina stretched, feeling the fatigue in her muscles, but also a sense of accomplishment. She had made more progress in her studies tonight than in the past few weeks. As she got ready for bed, Marina reflected on the day she'd had. It had started like any other, but it had ended up being a day she wouldn't easily forget. A day that had reminded her of the importance of kindness, compassion, and perseverance. She got into bed, her thoughts still revolving around the events of the day. As she drifted off to sleep, Marina dreamed of a future in which she would finally graduate as an accountant, a future in which she could help more people, not just with small acts of kindness, but with her skills and knowledge. The next morning, Marina woke up with a renewed sense of determination. She quickly got dressed, had breakfast with her parents, and headed to work. The supermarket was as busy as ever, but today Marina saw it with different eyes. Each customer wasn't just another transaction, but an opportunity to make a small difference in the world. As she put on her apron and prepared for another day at the cash register, Marina promised herself that she wouldn't lose sight of her dreams. She would keep studying, she would keep working hard, and she would keep being kind to others, because she now understood that every small act of kindness, every moment of perseverance, brought her one step closer to her goals. The morning passed uneventfully, a constant flow of customers and products. But just before her lunch break, Marina saw a familiar figure approaching her checkout. Her heart skipped a beat when she recognized the man she had helped the previous day. The man looked different today. His suit, though still worn, was better ironed. His face, though still showing signs of worry, held a glint of determination that wasn't there before. He approached Marina's checkout, this time with a small basket full of groceries. "Good morning," the man greeted with a shy smile. "I wanted to thank you for your kindness yesterday. You don't know how much it meant to me." Marina felt a lump form in her throat. "You don't have to thank me," she managed to say. "I'm glad I could help." The man shook his head. "No, really. Yesterday was a very difficult day for me. I had just lost my job, and I didn't know how I was going to feed my family. Your act of kindness gave me hope when I needed it most." Marina listened silently as the man continued. He told her how, inspired by her kindness, he had decided not to give up. That same night, he had sent his resume to several companies and, to his surprise, had received a call this morning for an interview. "I don't know if I'll get the job," the man said, "but thanks to you, I have the courage to try. And whatever happens, I'll never forget what you did for me." Marina felt tears welling up in her eyes. "I'm so happy for you," she said sincerely. "I wish you all the best in your interview." The man nodded gratefully. Then, to Marina's surprise, he took something out of his pocket. It was a small envelope. "Please," he said, handing it to Marina. "It's not much, but I wanted to return the favor somehow." Marina took the envelope with trembling hands. "It's not necessary, really," she started to say, but the man interrupted her. "Please accept it. Like you said yesterday, we all need help from time to time." With those words, the man paid for his groceries and left, leaving Marina staring at the small envelope in her hands. Carefully, she opened it and looked inside. It contained the $2 she had given him yesterday, along with a handwritten note. "Thank you for reminding me that there is still goodness in this world. I promise to pay this lesson forward." Marina felt her heart swell with emotion. At that moment, she understood that her small acts of kindness could have a much larger impact than she had ever imagined. She had not only helped someone in a time of need, but she had inspired that person to keep hope and to be kind to others. The rest of the day passed in a blur, but Marina felt light, as if she were floating. Each customer she served was a new opportunity to share a little kindness, to make the world a little better place. When her shift finally ended, Marina headed home with a new perspective. Yes, her life wasn't perfect. Yes, she still had dreams to fulfill and obstacles to overcome. But now she understood that every day, every interaction, was an opportunity to make a difference. That night, as she sat down to study, Marina looked at the note the man had left her. She placed it on her corkboard next to her goals and dreams as a constant reminder of why she did what she did. And as she reviewed her accounting books, Marina realized she had learned a lesson that no book could teach her. That true wealth isn't measured in dollars and cents, but in the ability to make a difference in the lives of others. With that lesson in her heart, Marina immersed herself in her studies, more determined than ever to achieve her goals. Because now she knew that every step she took toward her dreams not only benefited her, but brought her closer to a future where she could help more people, inspire more hope, and spread more kindness. And so, in the tranquility of her small apartment, surrounded by books and dreams, Marina realized that she was no longer just a supermarket cashier studying to be an accountant. She was a seed of change planted in the heart of her community, growing a little more each day with every act of kindness. The road ahead would still be long and difficult, full of challenges and obstacles. But Marina was ready to face them, armed not only with her determination in studies, but also with the certainty that even the smallest acts of kindness could change the world, one person at a time. A month had passed since that day when Marina had helped the man at the supermarket. Life had continued its course, with its usual ups and downs. But something had changed in Marina. Every day when she put on the Happy Savings uniform, she remembered the note she kept on her corkboard and promised herself that no matter what the day brought, she would keep that spark of kindness alive. It was a Friday afternoon, and the supermarket was bustling with activity. Customers filled their carts with provisions for the weekend, and the cash registers rang endlessly. Marina was at her usual station, checkout number 7, passing products through the scanner with the efficiency that only practice can give. "That's $82.50, please," Marina said to an elderly lady who had just purchased a large amount of pet food. The lady rummaged in her purse and pulled out a handful of wrinkled bills. As she counted the money, her hands, trembling, dropped some coins on the floor. "Oh dear," the elderly lady murmured, visibly distressed. Without hesitation, Marina stepped out from behind the checkout counter. "Don't worry, ma'am. I'll get them," she said with a kind smile, bending down to pick up the coins. "You're very kind, young lady," the lady said, gratitude in her voice. "I don't know what I would do without the help of people like you." Marina returned the coins and completed the transaction. As the lady walked away with her cart, Marina couldn't help but feel a wave of satisfaction. These little moments, these opportunities to be kind, had become the bright spot of her days. The line at her checkout continued to grow, and Marina hurried to serve the next customer. It was a young man with a baby in his arms, struggling to keep the child still as he tried to pay for his groceries. "Let me help you," offered Marina, taking the items from the counter and scanning them quickly. The man gave her a grateful look. "Thank you," he said, rocking the baby who was starting to get fussy. "This is the first time I've been out alone with him since my wife went back to work." Marina smiled understandingly. "You're doing great," she assured him as she carefully packed the diapers and baby formula. "We all need a little practice at first." The man visibly relaxed at her kind words, and when he left, the baby had stopped crying and was smiling at Marina over his father's shoulder. That's how the afternoon went, one customer after another, each interaction an opportunity for Marina to make the world a little better place. They weren't grand gestures, just small acts of kindness. A kind word here, a smile there, a hand extended to help when needed. But Marina knew that sometimes it was precisely those small gestures that could make all the difference in someone's day. When her break time arrived, Marina went to the break room, exhausted but satisfied. She sat down in one of the plastic chairs and took out her accounting book in a sandwich she had made at home. As she leafed through the pages of her book, reviewing concepts of auditing and corporate finance, she couldn't help but think about how much her perspective had changed in the last month. The job at the supermarket, which she used to see as an obstacle on her path toward her dreams, had now become a kind of training ground for life. Every interaction with a customer was a lesson in empathy. Every problem she solved was an exercise in conflict resolution. And every day brought her new opportunities to practice kindness and patience. Marina was so absorbed in her thoughts and studies that she barely noticed when her coworker, Lucia, entered the break room. "Marina!" exclaimed Lucia, snapping Marina out of her reverie. "Haven't you heard? There's a commotion at the supermarket entrance." Marina looked up from her book, surprised. "What? What's going on?" Lucia plopped down in the chair next to Marina, her eyes shining with excitement. "You're not going to believe this. There's a man there, dressed in a super expensive suit asking for a cashier. He says she helped him a month ago and that he's come to find her." Marina's heart skipped a beat. Could it be? It wasn't impossible. Surely it was a coincidence. "And you know what's the craziest part?" Lucia continued, leaning toward Marina as if she were about to reveal a great secret. "The man arrived in a limousine." "A limousine, Marina? Can you believe it?" Marina felt her mouth go dry. Her mind flew back to that day a month ago, to the man in the wrinkled suit who didn't have enough money to pay for his groceries. But it couldn't be him, could it? It was too far-fetched, too much like those fairy tales her mother used to tell her as a child. "Marina, are you okay?" asked Lucia, noticing her friend's sudden paleness. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Marina shook her head, trying to clear her thoughts. "I'm fine. It's just..." "Lucia, remember I told you about a man I helped a month ago?" Lucia's eyes widened. Don't tell me. At that moment, the break room door burst open and Mr. Thompson, the manager, hurriedly entered. His eyes scanned the room until they landed on Marina. Marina, there you are, he exclaimed, his voice a mix of excitement and confusion. There's someone who wants to see you. Says it's very important. Marina slowly stood up, feeling as if she were in a dream. She put her book and half-eaten sandwich in her locker and followed Mr. Thompson out of the break room, with Lucia hot on her heels. As they walked toward the supermarket entrance, Marina could feel the stares of her co-workers and the customers. Murmurs filled the air, and she could make out snippets of conversations. Who is that man? Why is he looking for a cashier? Have you seen that limousine? And then she saw him. Standing at the entrance of the supermarket, surrounded by a small group of onlookers, was a man dressed in an impeccable navy blue suit. His hair was perfectly styled, and he carried a leather briefcase in one hand. But despite his transformed appearance, Marina recognized him instantly. It was him, the man she had helped a month ago. The man saw her approaching, and a wide smile lit up his face. Marina, he exclaimed, taking a step towards her. I finally found you. Marina stopped in front of him, still unable to believe what she was seeing. You? How? She stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. The man laughed, a warm, genuine sound that seemed to ease the tension in the air. Let me introduce myself properly, he said, extending his hand. I am Gabriel Mendoza, CEO of InnovateX Solutions. Marina shook his hand mechanically, her mind still trying to process what was happening. InnovateX Solutions was one of the largest technology companies in the country. She had read about them in her accounting studies. Mr. Mendoza, she finally managed to say, I don't understand what's going on. Gabriel smiled again, his expression a mix of gratitude and something Marina couldn't quite identify. It was admiration. Marina, he said softly, a month ago, when I came to this supermarket, I was at the lowest point in my life. I had just lost everything in a bad investment. My company was on the verge of bankruptcy. My wife had left me and I had lost all hope. Marina listened in silence, aware that everyone around them was hanging on his every word. I came here that day, Gabriel continued, with the intention of buying what I needed to do something I would have deeply regretted. His voice broke slightly and Marina felt a shiver run down her spine as she realized what he was implying. But then, Gabriel said, his eyes shining with contained emotion, I met you. Your small act of kindness, your willingness to help a stranger without asking for anything in return. Marina, that day you didn't just give me $2. You gave me hope. You reminded me that there was still good in the world, that it was worth fighting for. Marina felt tears welling up in her eyes. She had never imagined that her small gesture could have such a profound impact. After that day, Gabriel continued, I decided to make one last effort. I contacted some old friends, presented a risky proposal to a group of investors, and it worked. In the last month, we've managed to turn the company's situation around. InnovateX Solutions not only escaped bankruptcy, but it's now on its way to becoming a leader in its field. A murmur of astonishment went through the crowd that had gathered around them. Marina was speechless, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what she was hearing. And it all started with you, Marina, Gabriel said, his voice full of gratitude. Your act of kindness was the spark that ignited all this. And now I've come to return the favor. Marina blinked, confused. Return the favor? But Mr. Mendoza, you already returned the $2 and the note you left me. Gabriel shook his head, chuckling softly. Oh, Marina, that was nothing compared to what you did for me. I haven't come to offer you money. He paused, looking Marina straight in the eyes. Marina, I want to offer you a job at InnovateX Solutions. The silence that followed those words was deafening. Marina felt like the world had stopped. Had she heard correctly? A job? She managed to stammer. Gabriel nodded. Yes, a job. I've been doing some research, Marina. I know you're studying accounting. I want to offer you a position in our finance department. You'll be able to finish your studies while you work, and you'll have the opportunity to put into practice what you learn in real time. Marina felt like she couldn't breathe. It was too good to be true. It had to be a dream. But Mr. Mendoza, she said, struggling to find the words. You barely know me. How can you offer me a job like this? Gabriel smiled, a warm, genuine smile that reached his eyes. Marina, in my experience, a person's character is revealed in the most unexpected moments. Your kindness, your integrity, your willingness to help others, those are qualities that cannot be taught. The rest, the technical knowledge, that can be learned. But the kind of person you are, that's what really matters. Marina looked around, looking for something to anchor her to reality. She saw Lucia, her eyes wide with amazement and a huge smile on her face. She saw Mr. Thompson nodding approvingly. She saw her co-workers and the customers, all watching the scene with a mix of astonishment and joy. I don't know what to say, Marina murmured, feeling overwhelmed with emotion. Gabriel placed a hand on her shoulder. You don't have to decide right now, he said kindly. Take your time to think about it. Here's my card. Call me when you're ready to talk about the details. Marina took the card with trembling hands, still unable to believe what was happening. And Marina, added Gabriel, his voice gentle but firm, no matter what you decide, I want you to know that you have made a difference in this world. Never underestimate the power of an act of kindness. With those words, Gabriel said goodbye, leaving Marina in a whirlwind of emotions and thoughts. As she watched him walk away towards the limousine waiting outside, Marina felt as if she were waking from a dream. The next few minutes passed in a blur. Her co-workers surrounded her, congratulating her and bombarding her with questions. Mr. Thompson hugged her, telling her how proud he was of her. Customers who had witnessed the scene approached to shake her hand and wish her well. But in the midst of all the commotion, Marina could only think of one thing: how a small act of kindness had set in motion a chain of events that were now changing her life. When she finally managed to escape the uproar and return to the break room, Marina sank into a chair, feeling like her legs couldn't hold her up anymore. She stared at the card Gabriel had given her, running her fingers over the embossed InnovateX Solutions logo. It all felt so unreal. Lucia came in after her, practically jumping for joy. Marina, I can't believe it. It's like a fairy tale. Marina looked up at her friend, a mixture of emotions reflected on her face. Lucia, is this really happening? Am I dreaming? Lucia sat beside her, taking her hands in hers. It's real, friend. It's all real. You got your dream job. But what if I'm not ready? Marina murmured, doubt beginning to creep into her mind. I haven't even finished my studies. What if I can't do it? Lucia shook her head, her expression serious but full of confidence. Marina, listen to me. You've been working so hard, studying every night after grueling shifts, never losing hope. If anyone can do it, you can. Lucia's words resonated deeply with Marina. It was true, she had fought so hard for this. All those nights of studying, all the sacrifices, all the times when she had wanted to give up, but she kept going. Wasn't this what she had been working for? You're right, Marina finally said, a small smile forming on her lips. It's such a big change. An hour ago, I was just a cashier, and now you have the opportunity to fulfill your dreams, Lucia finished, and all because you were kind to someone when they needed it. Don't you see how incredible that is? Marina nodded slowly, the reality of the situation beginning to sink in. It is incredible, she admitted, but also scary. Fear is normal, said a voice from the doorway. Marina and Lucia turned to see Mr. Thompson entering the room. Fear tells us we're about to do something important. Mr. Thompson walked over and sat down in front of Marina. Marina, he said softly, I've been the manager of this supermarket for 25 years. I've seen hundreds of employees come and go, but never in all those years have I met anyone with your work ethic and your heart. Marina felt a lump form in her throat at her boss's words. We're going to miss you, Mr. Thompson continued, and we will definitely miss you. But this is an opportunity you can't pass up. You have to go after your dreams, Marina. But what about you? Marina asked, looking at Lucia and Mr. Thompson. You've been like a second family to me. Mr. Thompson smiled. And we always will be. But families also have to let their members fly when it's time. Lucia nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Besides, she added with a mischievous smile, Now I'll have a friend in the corporate high spheres. Who knows, maybe one day you'll get me a job there too." The three of them laughed, and Marina felt a weight lift from her shoulders. They were right. This was what she had been working for all these years. It was terrifying, yes, but also exciting. "All right," she said finally, sitting up straight in her chair. "I'll do it. I'll call Mr. Mendoza and accept his offer." Lucia let out a cry of joy and hugged Marina, while Mr. Thompson nodded approvingly. "But first," John Marina added, "I need to talk to my parents. I need to tell them all this in person." Mr. Thompson nodded. "Of course. In fact, why don't you take the rest of the day off? You've had enough excitement for one day." Marina thanked her boss and, after saying goodbye to Lucia and promising to call her later, left the supermarket. The afternoon sun shone brightly, as if the sky itself were celebrating her good fortune. As she walked towards the bus stop, Marina couldn't help but think about how much her life had changed in just a few hours. This morning she had been just another cashier this morning. She had been just another cashier, counting down the days until she could finish her studies. Now she had the opportunity to enter the corporate world, to put into practice everything she had been studying. The bus ride seemed to take forever. Marina kept looking at Gabriel's card, mentally rehearsing what she would say to her parents. How to explain that her life had taken a 180-degree turn thanks to an act of kindness from a month ago. When she finally arrived home, she found her mother in the kitchen, preparing dinner. Her father was on the couch reading the newspaper. The scene was so normal, so everyday, that for a moment Marina wondered if everything that had happened at the supermarket hadn't been a dream. "Marina!" exclaimed her mother, surprised. "What are you doing home so early? Is everything okay?" Marina took a deep breath. "Mom, Dad, I need to talk to you. Something incredible has happened." She spent the next few minutes recounting the events of the day, from Gabriel's arrival in the limousine to his job offer. Her parents listened in silence, their expressions shifting from surprise to disbelief and finally to pride. When Marina finished her story, there was a moment of silence. Then, to her surprise, her father got up from the couch and enveloped her in a tight hug. "My girl," he said, his voice choked with emotion, "I always knew you were destined for great things." Her mother joined the hug, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks. "We are so proud of you, Marina," she said. So proud." Marina felt her heart swell with emotion. The unconditional support of her parents was all she needed to dispel any lingering doubts she might have. "So, you think I should accept?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. Her father stepped back a little, looking her in the eyes. "Marina, you've worked so hard for this. You've sacrificed so much. Of course you should accept it." Her mother nodded, wiping her tears. "It's your chance, honey, and you've earned it. Not just for your hard work, but for your kindness. We are so proud of the woman you've become." That night, Marina's family's small house was filled with laughter and celebrations. They called the grandparents to share the news, and her grandmother insisted they should have a party to celebrate. Marina even called Lucia, who squealed with joy when she told her she had decided to take the job. Later, when the excitement had died down a bit and her parents had gone to bed, Marina sat down at her little desk. She took out Gabriel's card and her phone. With trembling fingers, she dialed the number. It rang once, twice, and then, "Hello?" answered Gabriel's voice. Marina took a deep breath. "Mr. Mendoza, it's Marina. Marina Gomez from the supermarket." "Marina!" Gabriel exclaimed, his voice full of warmth. "It's so good to hear from you. Have you thought about my offer?" Marina looked around, at the accounting books piled on her desk, at Gabriel's thank you note stuck on her corkboard, at the picture of her family smiling from a frame. "Yes, Mr. Mendoza," she said, her voice firm and determined. "I've thought about your offer, and I'd like to accept it." She could hear the smile in Gabriel's voice when he replied. "Excellent, Marina. You don't know how happy that makes me. Welcome to Innovate X Solutions." As she this details for her first day of work, Marina felt a surge of excitement and anticipations. Her life was about to change dramatically, and although it was scary, it was also incredibly exciting. She went to bed that night with a smile on her face, thinking about all the possibilities opening up before her. But just before she fell asleep, her that day a month ago when she had helped a stranger in need.
She never could have imagined how that small act of kindness would change her life. Marina closed her eyes of the bright future that awaited her. Tomorrow would be the first day of the rest of her life. She was ready to
Success was the same kindness and determination that had brought her this far. The sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon when Marina opened her eyes. For a moment, she just stared at the ceiling of her room, wondering if everything had happened been a dream. But as she turned her head and saw his card on her nightstand, she knew it was all real. Today was her first day at Innovative. Marina got out of bed with a piece of nervousness and excitement bubbling in her stomach. She went to the closet and took out the suit she had bought with her mother over the weekend. It was simple but elegant, perfect for her new role in the corporate world. As she dressed, she couldn't help but think about how much her life had changed in just a few days ago. She had woken up to go to her shift at the supermarket like she had for the past 6 years. So now she was preparing to enter a world that was completely new. Marina, are you awake? Her mother's voice pulled her out of her thought. Yes, Mom, I'm almost... Marina replied, putting the finishing touches on her makeup. When she came out of her room, she found her parents waiting for her in the kitchen. Her mother had a special breakfast, and her father was holding a small package wrapped in gift paper. Good morning, honey, her mother said, hugging her. Are you ready for your big day? Marina swallowed, trying to control the nerves that threatened to overwhelm her. I think so. I'm nervous but excited. Her father approached and handed her the package. We have something for you, he said with a smile. For good luck on your first day. Marina carefully unwrapped the gift. Inside was a beautiful leather briefcase. Oh, Dad, Mom, it's beautiful. Thank you. We saw it and thought it would be perfect for your new job, her mother explained. For you to carry your documents. Marina hugged her parents feeling a wave of gratitude for their unwavering support. I love you both so much, she murmured, tears in her eyes. But he got up after a hurried breakfast filled with advice and words of encouragement from her parents, and Marina left home. The bus ride to the city center, where the Innovatex offices were located, seemed to take forever, and she looked out the window, watching the suburbs give way to the skyscrapers of the financial district. Marina couldn't help but think about how far she had come. She remembered at the supermarket, the long hours standing at the cash register, the difficult customers, but also the moments of kindness and human connection. She thought of Lucy and Mr. Thompson, how they had supported and encouraged her. She promised herself that forget them, that she would keep in touch and never know where she came from. Finally, the bus pulled up in front of an imposing building of glass and steel. Marina got off, feeling her legs trembling slightly. She looked up at the tower looming in front of her, the Innovative Solutions. She took a deep breath and entered the building. The lobby was a hive of activity, with employees and visitors coming and going. Marina approached the reception desk where an efficient-looking woman greeted her with a smile. Good morning, I'm Marina Gomez. It's my first day. I have an appointment now with Mr. Mendoza. The receptionist typed something. Welcome to Innovatex. Mr. Mendoza is expecting you on the 30th floor. Here's your access card. Marina took the card and headed towards the elevators, her heart beating faster and faster as the numbers on the display clamped. The doors opened and Marina stepped out into an elegant hallway. She had barely taken a few steps when a voice greeted her. Marina, welcome. Gabriel Mendoza approached her with a warm smile, extending his hand. Marina shook it, not noting how different Gabriel looked from that a supermarket. His and confident posture were stuck on the desperate man she had met a month ago. Mr. Mendoza, good morning. Thank you for this opportunity. Gabriel shook his head. Please call me Gabriel. And you don't have to thank me. You've earned this in your own right. He led her down the hallway, pointing out different departments and introducing her to some employees along the way. Marina tried to absorb all the information, feeling a little overwhelmed by the magnitude of it all. Finally, they arrived at an office with a plaque that read, Finance Department. Gabriel opened the door and Marina stepped inside, finding herself in a spacious and bright space filled with desks and state-of-the-art computers. This will be your new home, Gabriel said. You'll be working directly under the supervision of our CFO, Ms. Ramirez. As if summoned, a middle-aged woman in a stylish suit approached them. You must be Marina, she said with a kind smile. I'm Sofia Ramirez. Welcome to the team. Marina shook Sofia's hand, immediately feeling at ease with her warm and professional presence. Marina, Gabriel said, Ms. Ramirez will show you your workstation and bring you up to speed on your responsibilities. But before I go, I'd like to speak with you privately for a moment. Intrigued, Marina followed Gabriel to a small conference room nearby. Once inside, Gabriel closed the door and turned to her with a serious expression. Marina, before you officially start, there's something I want to propose to you, he said. Something I hope will leave you speechless. Marina felt her heart race. What more could Gabriel offer her? He had already given her a job she could only have dreamed of a week ago. As you know, Gabriel continued, your act of kindness towards me not only changed my life, but it saved this company. And as I thought about how I could properly thank you, an idea occurred to me. He paused as if carefully considering his next words. Marina, I want to offer you the opportunity to create and lead a new division within InnovateX Solutions, a division dedicated to corporate social responsibility and promoting acts of kindness in the business world. Marina blinked, sure she had misheard. What? But I have no experience in that. I'm just starting out in the corporate world. Gabriel smiled. You have something far more valuable than experience, Marina. You have vision, compassion, and an innate understanding of how a small act of kindness can create a huge change. That's exactly what we need. Marina was speechless, just as Gabriel had predicted. Her mind was racing, trying to process what she was hearing. The idea, Gabriel continued, is to create a program that inspires and rewards acts of kindness, both within our company and in the wider community. We want to change the way business is done, to show that compassion and success are not mutually exclusive. Marina finally found her voice. But why me? Surely there are more qualified people. Gabriel shook his head. Marina, you are the inspiration behind all this. Your act of kindness not only saved me in this company, but it made me realize that we need more of that in the business world. I want you to be the face of this program, to share your story and inspire others to follow your example. Marina sat down, feeling like her legs couldn't hold her up any longer. It was too much to process. Just a few days ago, she was a supermarket cashier, and now she was being offered to lead an initiative that could change the way businesses operated. I know it's a lot to take in, Gabriel said softly, and I understand if you need time to think it over. You don't have to decide right now. Marina was grateful for Gabriel's understanding. It's an incredible proposal, she managed to say, but you're right. I need time to process everything. Gabriel smiled. Of course, take all the time you need. In the meantime, you can get started with your responsibilities in the finance department. Ms. Ramirez will guide you and help you acclimate. With that, Gabriel escorted her back to the finance department, where Sofia was waiting for her. The rest of the day passed in a blur of new faces, procedures to learn, and systems to master. But in the back of her mind, Gabriel's proposal kept swirling. When she finally arrived home that night, Marina was exhausted but excited. Her parents were waiting for her, eager to hear about her first day. Well, her mother asked as soon as Marina walked through the door. How did it go? Marina sank into the couch, a weary smile on her face. It was incredible. Overwhelming, but incredible. She told them about her day, about the new responsibilities she was learning, about the kindness of her new colleagues. But when she got to Gabriel's proposal, she stopped. Marina, her father said, noticing her hesitation, is there something else? Marina took a deep breath and told them about Gabriel's offer, about the new division he wanted her to lead. Her parents listened in silence, their expressions shifting from surprise to pride. Oh, honey, her mother said when Marina finished speaking. That's an incredible opportunity. Her father nodded. I agree, but it's also a huge responsibility. How do you feel about it? Marina ran a hand through her hair, trying to gather her thoughts. I'm excited, scared, overwhelmed. I don't know if I'm ready for something like this. Her father leaned forward, taking her hands in his. Marina, listen to me. No one is ever fully prepared for an opportunity like this when it comes along. But you have something that can't be taught. You have heart. And that, along with your intelligence and work ethic, will take you far. Her mother nodded, joining the hug. Your father's right. Besides, you won't be alone. You'll have Gabriel's support and that of the entire Innovative Solutions team. Marina felt a lump form in her throat. The unconditional support of her parents meant more to her than she could express. Thank you, she managed to say. I don't know what I'd do without you. That night, as she lay in bed trying to fall asleep, Marina reflected on everything that had happened. Her life had taken a 180-degree turn in a matter of days, all thanks to a simple act of kindness. She thought about all the times she had felt discouraged at the supermarket, all the times she had wondered if she would ever achieve her dreams. And now here she was, not only with a job at a large company, but with the chance to make a real difference in the world. Marina realized that while Gabriel's proposal scared her, it also deeply excited her. The idea that she could inspire others to be kinder, that she could change the way companies operated, was something she wouldn't even have dared to dream of a week ago. With that realization, Marina made a decision. Tomorrow she would talk to Gabriel and accept his offer. It would be a huge challenge, but she was ready to face it. The next morning, Marina arrived at the office early. She found Gabriel in his office, reviewing some documents. Good morning, Gabriel, Marina greeted, her voice firm despite the nerves she felt. Have you got a moment? Gabriel looked up and smiled. Of course, Marina. Come in. Marina entered and sat down in front of Gabriel's desk. She took a deep breath and said, I've been thinking about your proposal, and I'd like to accept it. Gabriel's smile widened. That's excellent news, Marina. I'm sure you'll do an incredible job. I'm scared, Marina admitted. It's a big responsibility, but I'm also excited for the opportunity to make a difference. Gabriel nodded understandingly. Fear is normal, Marina. It means you care, that you understand the importance of what we're trying to do. But remember, you won't be alone in this. You'll have my full support and that of the whole team. Marina felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Thank you, Gabriel. I promise to do my best. Now, how about we get started on the details of your new division? Gabriel asked, taking out a notebook. Marina nodded, feeling more confident with each passing moment. Over the next few hours, she and Gabriel brainstormed ideas, made plans, and dreamed big. The new division, which they decided to call Social Innovation, would be a beacon of hope in the corporate world. The following months were a whirlwind of activity. Marina worked tirelessly, splitting her time between her responsibilities in the finance department and the creation of social innovation. She learned quickly, absorbing knowledge of finance and business management like a sponge, while at the same time bringing her unique perspective on kindness and compassion in business. The official launch of Social Innovation was an event Marina would never forget. Before a room filled with InnovateX Solutions employees, investors, and media, Marina took the stage to present the initiative. 6 months ago, she began, her voice trembling slightly with nerves, I was a supermarket cashier. I dreamed of something more, but I never imagined I would be standing here today. As Marina shared her story, the room fell silent. She talked about the day she met Gabriel, about how a small act of kindness had changed not just her life, but the life of an entire company. Social innovation is not just about making donations or holding charity events, Marina explained. It's about fundamentally changing the way we do business. It's about showing that compassion and success can go hands of kindness, partnerships with local charities, a fund to support social entrepreneurs, and much more. When Marina finished her presentation, the room erupted in applause. She saw Gabriel in the front row smiling proudly. Her parents, whom she had invited to the event, had tears in their eyes. In the months and years that followed, social innovation grew beyond anything Marina or Gabriel could have imagined. Other companies began to take note, implementing similar programs. Marina was invited to speak at business conferences, sharing her story and her vision of a more compassionate corporate world. But for Marina, the most rewarding moments were the smallest, like the day a young intern approached her with tears in her eyes, thanking her for creating a work environment where kindness was valued. Or when she received a letter from a small business owner who had received support from the Social Entrepreneurship Fund, telling her how it had changed his life and that of his community. 5 years after the day she had helped Gabriel at the supermarket, Marina was back in that same place. But this time, she wasn't behind the cash register. She was cutting a red ribbon, inaugurating the first InnovateX Solutions kindness store, a supermarket where prices were based on a pay-what-you-can system and where surplus goods were donated to local food banks. As she cut the ribbon, Marina saw familiar faces in the crowd. Lucia, her old co-worker, now the manager of the new store, Mr. Thompson, beaming like a proud father, her own parents glowing with happiness, and Gabriel, the man whose life she had changed with a simple act of kindness, and who, in turn, had changed hers. "Welcome to the kindness store," Marina said into the microphone, her voice filled with emotion. "This place is a testament to what can happen when we choose compassion over indifference, when we recognize our shared humanity." As the crowd applauded and people began to enter the store, Marina took a moment to reflect. Her life had taken an incredible turn, but deep down, she was still the same person she had been, willing to help a stranger in need. That night, after the celebrations had ended and the store had closed its doors for the first time, Marina stood alone in the center aisle. She walked slowly, running her hand along the shelves, remembering the days she had spent working there. She stopped in front of checkout number 7, where it had all begun. She smiled, thinking about how a small moment, a decision to be kind, had set in motion a chain of events that had changed not only her life, but the lives of so many others. Marina took something out of her pocket, the note Gabriel had left her 5 years ago, thanking her for her kindness. She had kept it all these years as a reminder of where it had all started. Carefully, she taped the note to the side of the cash register. It would be a reminder for everyone who worked there that every interaction, however small it may seem, has the potential to change a life. As she left the store and closed the door behind her, Marina looked up at the starry sky. She had come a long way from the cashier who dreamed of something more. But in her heart, she knew this wasn't the end of her journey. It was just the beginning, because every day brought new opportunities to be kind, to make a difference, and Marina was ready to seize every one of them. As she walked towards her car, Marina thought about all the lives she could still touch, all the ripples of kindness she could still create, and she smiled because she knew the best was yet to come. The business world could be tough and competitive, but Marina had shown that it could also be a place of compassion and generosity. And as long as she continued to inspire others to be kind, to think of others, she knew she was fulfilling her true purpose. Marina started her car and took one last look at the kindness store. It was more than just a supermarket. It was a symbol of hope, a reminder that a small act of kindness could spark monumental change. As she drove away, Marina felt filled with gratitude and hope. Gratitude for everything she had experienced, for all the people who had supported her on her journey, and hope for all that was yet to come. Because in the end, Marina had learned the most valuable lesson of all, that true wealth isn't measured in money or success, but in the difference we make in the lives of others. And in that sense, Marina felt like the richest person in the world. And so, with a full heart and a smile on her face, Marina headed towards her next adventure, ready to continue planting seeds of kindness wherever she went, because she knew that every small act of kindness had the power to change the world, one person at a time. The end.